circulatory system is the body's transportation system. Oxygen molecules bond to the hemoglobin in red blood cells. The red blood cells then take the oxygen all over the body to where it is needed. Oxygen is used and carbon dioxide, a waste product, is picked up to be eliminated. The heart is the main organ of the circulatory system. The heart pumps blood throughout the body. Blood enters the lungs through the heart. Your heart is located on the left side of your chest, protected by your ribs. Your heart is about the size of your fist. The heart is divided into two halves. On the right half is mostly oxygen-poor blood, while on the left half is mostly oxygen-rich blood. The wall that separates the two halves is called the septum. If there is a hole in the septum, the person will not be able to get enough oxygen into their body, because oxygen-poor blood will be mixing with oxygen-rich blood. The pacemaker is a group of cells in the right atrium. By sending a signal that makes the heart muscles contract, the pacemaker regulates the beating of. The action of the heart works in two main phases. In the first phase, the muscle relaxes and blood rushes into the heart. In the second phase, the muscle contracts and pumps blood out of the heart. There are several different components of blood. First, there's red blood cells that transport oxygen all over the body. Second, there's white blood cells that fight disease. Red blood cells outnumber white blood cells 600 to 1. There's plasma, which is a liquidy fluid that blood cells flow in and that transports nutrients. Lastly, there's platelets. These are pieces of red blood cells that help to form blood clots when you get cut. There are 4 different types of blood: A, AB, B, and O. Your blood type will only matter in a blood transfusion. Blood is transported through blood vessels. Blood vessels are small, tube-like structures that keep blood flowing on the right path. There are 3 different types of blood vessels: arteries, which transport oxygen-rich blood throughout the body; veins, that transport deoxygenated blood back to the heart; and capillaries, which are in between arteries and veins, and are the smallest of them all. Blood traveling through blood vessels exerts pressure against the walls of blood vessels. This is called blood pressure. Blood pressure is caused by the force with which the ventricles contract. In general, as blood moves away from the heart, its pressure decreases. This is because the further away from the heart the blood moves, the lower the force of the ventricles. Blood pressure in capillaries and veins is much lower than that in arteries, because arteries are closer to the heart. If your blood pressure is too high, you may have a disorder called hypertension. Hypertension is a serious threat because there are no obvious symptoms to warn you. The flow of blood is the path that blood takes as it goes throughout the body. Starting in the heart, the blood first goes through the superior/inferior vena cava. Then into the right atrium, blood moves through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. Then up through the pulmonary valve, blood enters the pulmonary artery. Blood from the artery goes into the lungs. In the lungs, gas exchange occurs. Carbon dioxide is dropped off while oxygen is picked up. Then, blood goes through the pulmonary veins back into the heart, into the left atrium. Then, through the mitral valve, the blood goes into the left ventricle. Up through the aortic valve, the blood goes through the aorta/descending aorta, depending on which side of the body it's going to. After the blood leaves the aorta, it goes through arteries. The arteries become smaller and smaller until they turn into capillaries. In capillaries, gas exchange occurs once again, but this time, oxygen is being dropped off and carbon dioxide is being picked up. Then, the capillaries get bigger and bigger until they turn into veins. Through the veins, the blood goes back to the heart. As blood travels through the capillaries in the cardiovascular system, some of the fluid leaks out. It moves through the walls of capillaries and into surrounding tissues. This fluid carries materials that the cells in the tissues need. After bathing the cells, this fluid moves into the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is like a network of vein-like vessels that returns the fluid to the bloodstream. The lymphatic system acts something like a rain gutter after a rainstorm, carrying the fluid away. This has been a basic overview of the function